next speaker is Sylvia Wu. Sylvia is a staff attorney for the Center for Food Safety, advocating on law and policy related to genetically engineered crops, factory farming, aquaculture, pesticides, and other food safety issues. Sylvia authored a paper on the legal implications of the use of genetically engineered wine yeast in the U.S. wine industry. Wu serves on the leadership team of Slow Food USA East Bay chapter and on the board of directors for Planting Justice. Sylvia.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. I am a staff attorney at the Center for Food Safety, where most of my time I participate in litigation on the very same issues that brought us here today, namely the labeling of genetically modified foods and the harms associated with genetically engineered crops. Now, the Center for Food Safety has worked on this issue of genetically engineered food and food labeling for more than 15 years. For the past more than 15 years, we've been in communication. Even before my time at the Center for Food Safety, we've been in communication with different states, with leaders of Congress, to try to address the very harms that brought us here today. I guess, I'm here to talk about, to make, if you will, a legal case for why we need this legislation. One of the great rights we have as consumers in this country is we have the right to make personal choices in the marketplace. If I go out there and I'm having a party and I know that somebody's coming that's gluten intolerant and I need to pick out gluten-free flour, there's a label that tells me that. If I'm watching trans fats or MSGs, there's a label that tells me that. I come from a family of high blood pressure. My mom and dad, they watch out for their salt intake. There's a label that tells them how much salt is in the food. If I have, say, a New Year resolution and I'm counting calories, I can do that. I can read the label. But when it comes to genetically engineered foods, that right's being denied to me and each one of you right now. We don't know when food's made with genetically engineered ingredients. And all of you here know this. Yet the federal government has refused to take action. They have to date refused to label genetically engineered foods. And that is why it's time for states to take action and to take lead. Right here in California, we must take the lead. And the legal case for labeling it's simple. It's not just about the right for us to know what's in our food. It's also about our right to a healthier agricultural economy, to a vibrant organic food industry. It's about our right to not be near to our right for our workers not to work in fields sprayed with pesticides. It's about our right to feed our children what we want them to eat. And now, during my time in the Center for Food Safety, we worked on legislation to draft that would label genetically engineered foods. These bills, as Pam mentioned, are being circulated around the countries, and dozens of states have risen to action. So we very much look forward to working with legislators in California to pass such a bill. It's well supported, it's well researched, it will withstand any legal challenges and protect our consumers, so that we can also just one day go out to the marketplace, and if we don't want to consume food made with genetically engineered foods, read the label and know that it's there or it's not. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Next up, we have Janif Hurst. Janif served as the Sacramento Region Public Relations Chairperson for Proposition 37. As a lab technician, she worked with transgenic tobacco plants and mammalian cell culture to find a cure for breast cancer. She will speak today about her experience in the biotechnology environment, genetically modifying tobacco genes. Janif.
Thank you, Bob, for that nice introduction. In 2012, Prop 37 was narrowly defeated in California, but we sparked a fire for change that continues to burn strongly. Similar propositions have gained passage in other states like New England, as Pam has mentioned, or are on the ballot in over 20 other states to be voted during the next election. To remind everyone here, the purpose of calling for GMO labeling is only to make aware of what they are buying. It enables a clear choice, no more, no less. A label by itself is not a judgment whether the product is good or bad. It simply identifies the product's constitution and allows the buyer to make informed decision what type of products he or she intends to purchase. Now, as was mentioned in my introduction, I spent time in the biotechnology industry as a lab technician. I worked on a project that aimed to protect a tobacco plant from being consumed by insects. The base idea was to eliminate the use of externally applied pesticides by genetically modifying the tobacco plant genome to produce its own insecticides within the plant. Back in the early 90s, we confirmed a successful modification of the tobacco plant genome by identifying small tumor formations forming between the root and the stem of the plant. Today, these tumor expressions are silenced through a process modification in the laboratory. But just because they are silent does not mean they are not there. In the lab I was associated with, identifying these tumor expressions signaled successful modification of the plant genome. Has anyone here ever associated any type of tumor with anything positive? After modification, the plant is now able to reproduce its own internal insecticide. Once an insect consumes parts of the genetically modified tobacco plant, within a short period of time, the plant's viral DNA, including the insecticide gene, would lyse the stomach lining of the insect. In layman terms, it would break down the internal structure of the insect's stomach walls and thus kill it. Ask yourself, considering the effects the newly developed defense mechanism of the genetically modified tobacco plant has on insects, how does that defense mechanism manifest itself within the human body over time? Personally, I would like to see the entire US adopt the position of Switzerland, France, Ireland, Russia, Japan, and China, who have banned genetically modified organisms altogether. However, that might be too drastic for some segments of the US population. Nevertheless, labeling foods that contain genetically modified organisms allows the consumer to make an informed choice which products she or he wants to purchase. Once again, a label by itself is not a judgment whether the product is good or bad. It simply identifies the product's constitution and affords the consumer a choice. Thank you.